welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. My 8th guest in the summertime series, The Path to Catholicism, is Kim Streb. After a somewhat tumultuous childhood and young adulthood, Kim found herself at RCIA, but struggled with what was being taught about the Catholic faith. After an epiphany she had on a trip, she submerged herself in service to others as a member of the RCIA team, baptism prep team, and a caregiver ministry, which is in alignment with her career of working with people with disabilities. After an accident in church on Palm Sunday in 2023, Kim had another epiphany, which made her faith unwavering. Wow, I can't wait to hear about all this. Please have a listen to my interview with Kim Streb. Well, hello, Kim.
Hello.
Here you are.
I am.
In our studio, in all your purple glory.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. We talked about you behind your back in front of your face on another episode with Robert Barry.
He's a good friend.
He had the highest praise of you, and we were talking about your hair, and he said, oh, something about, I don't want to offend Kim. I said, Kim knows she is. I love your hair.
Well, thank you.
You look stunning today, too.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm so happy you're here. I know maybe you're a little shy to be here. Sometimes people, are hesitant to come, and I really appreciate the people who struggle with that coming anyway. And you were highly recommended by Deacon Don Huntley at our church, so here you are.
Well, thank you, Deacon Don.
He knows who to choose. Anyway, I'm really happy to have you here. We're doing this Path to Catholicism series about converts, and it's been a really good series. You're one of the last couple of ones we're having, and I know that you're on the RCIA team, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's kind of my experience with you. I've known you for a few years, but kind of at a distance. I wouldn't say you and I have hung out but we do go to the same parish, and you are a huge part of the church, and I'm very well aware of you, and I think, to be honest with you, I think you are part of the team or part of my class when I was in RCIA, because I remember you doing the saint, coming and doing the
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
Okay.
So, I didn't go to any other RCIA classes but mine.
Okay. Gotcha.
But anyway, that was my first introduction to you. And then I know you've been a big part of the church. So
Yes.
Anyway, I really appreciated that you sent me kind of like it was meant to be a bio, which it was. And it really gave me quite an overview of you, not in detail, but you never know what somebody has gone through or what their story is. When you look at somebody kind of from a distance and you think, oh, I pretty much can figure them out. Sometimes you say that.
Right.
I really was interested in what you had to say. And I think my listeners are going to be very interested because you're a very honest person. And I think that when you've had struggles or you've had things that have happened in your life, good or bad, when you can be honest about things with other people, you never know who you're going to help with your story.
Exactly.
And that's why I love having people on my show. And so I think if we can follow kind of what you sent me, I think that would be it's a very chronological way you gave your story, which I think was great. So I've been asking everybody that's a part of this series, what's your religious background? How did that morph into your conversion story? I've noticed it's kind of all one big thing when people are talking about it. So let's hear about your background and what brought you to the Catholic faith. And then we'll break it down a little bit more as we go.
I was christened Catholic at a month old at St. Paul of the Cross, and I would attend church, but with my grandmother. I remember going quite often, and it was a lot like Our Lady of the Assumption, but the stained glass windows were more at eye level. And I was so attracted to all those colors that I would ask her, what does this mean? And she would tell me. And I loved the tradition, and the only thing I found uncomfortable was showing each other a sign of peace. I didn't think that uh, an older person would care to wish a child a sign of peace. And that bothered me, but I did it. But I moved away from New York when I was 14, and there was no thought of religion after that. But I had thought about religion, but I moved down into the deep South, and you were Baptist. So I attended some Baptist Bible studies with teenage people my age, and it wasn't about learning about God. It was a social thing to get a new girlfriend or boyfriend and whatever. And I just wasn't into that. So years and years later, I had a good life, but something was still missing. So some neighbors invited me to RCIA at the time, and I went, and I treated it like an intellectual exercise that, okay, you're going to tell me these things, but I don't believe you.
Right off the top.
Right off the top. I had such a huge chip on my shoulder, and Deacon Don wouldn't even be done getting his thought out, and I was raising my hand. Well, why? Because this is stupid, and I just didn't agree with any of it, and I was waiting the whole time for my come to Jesus moment, and it never came. But I kept going, and I was more and more uncertain about what I wanted to do, and the right of election. Well, that seemed like a pretty big deal, and I didn't want to do it, but I did. All the scrutinies and the rights, I did all those. When it came time for our cathedral trip, I went home. I had to tend to my father, and I had no intention of ever coming back or seeing any of these people again. So the day of the cathedral trip, I was getting pictures from everybody that I was going through my year with, and I thought they were pretty, but okay, I'm not going to see you anymore. So great. Thanks for the photos. Good luck to you. And on my way home from that trip, something just clicked in my head that I wanted to embrace what was being offered me, but I didn't know how to do it. Sacraments were important, but I didn't feel the grace or anything to do with being Catholic. I wasn't living it. It just didn't seem real to me. And I had one foot in and one foot out of the Catholic Church, but I went. And then Palm Sunday, 2023, I was asked to be part of the procession for the Big Palm Front into the 11 a.m. Mass. And I said yes. I didn't have any qualms about it. And I was aware of where I was in the procession. I was towards the back. And I laid down my palm frond, and I didn't stand back up the right way. And I didn't think too much of it. And I just kept going and going and going. And then I ended up falling down the steps backwards from the sanctuary and hitting my head on the pavement. And this was Palm Sunday. It was a full house. And what just happened? What in the world? How can I come back to this parish? I'm not coming back. And I'm just laying there, and I realize I can't get up. My back was in so much pain. And an ambulance was called, and people from RCIA, I remember he took my hand and he asked me where I was, and did I remember what day it was? And I did. And then I was taken to CMH by ambulance, and I got home, and I couldn't move. There was nothing I could do, and it was Palm Sunday. It's the highest Holy Week in the Catholic Church, and I can't do anything. and I was sponsoring Robert that year.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So I turned on The Chosen because I couldn't attend anything at Mass, and all I had to do was get through the vigil, and I knew it was going to be a long Mass. So I turned on The Chosen, and that changed my life.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing.
To see the Bible stories that I had always known, but to see them and to see the grace that Jonathan Rumi has in The Chosen as Jesus Christ, it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
And you were sold.
Sold.
Well, I want to unpack a bunch of that.
Okay.
Thank you for that story. That's exactly what you wrote to me. And I just, I was really wrapping my mind around what you were saying. And so a few things. One, I think it's interesting what you were saying about when you were a little child, that your grandmother was the one that took you to church. Mm-hmm. I think that's a common thing where if a parent isn't going to take you to church, the grandparent who's very into church will take you. I also think it's interesting what children remember. And I don't know if you've ever noticed when we're in our church, and we do have massive stained glass windows, but the children are just enamored with those windows.
Yes.
And they catch their eye and they are mesmerized by them. They all have a story. I know Deacon Don's really good about teaching the story of all of our windows. And that's what they originated for, was to tell the story of salvation history was through these windows.
Yes.
Because a lot of people didn't have knowledge or couldn't read or anything, but people could look at these works of art and learn about the gospel.
Yes.
So, and learn about the Bible. So I think that's really interesting. And then your parents, were they a part of your life, or was your grandmother more in charge of you than your parents, or what was that dynamic like?
My parents divorced when I was 7, and Mom got custody of us, but she was absent. She was, I don't know what she was doing, but it wasn't taking care of us. So I didn't really have a strong moral compass growing up. Do as I say, not as I do. But that's what you taught me.
Right.
And that's what I proceeded to go out and do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like you kind of had, thank heaven for your grandmother. That was wonderful. But then it sounds like many kids that age, you kind of veered off.
Yes.
You didn't continue going to Catholic Mass with your grandmother, it sounds like. Right. Is that safe to say?
Correct.
And then it sounds like then you said you moved and you became a part of the Baptist church.
I checked it out.
Yeah. I just wasn't your thing.
Yeah, it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because I've talked about in other episodes where I was a Protestant for a while, and at the time I thought it was fine. I didn't have anything to compare it to because I wasn't raised in any religion.
Right.
But then when I look back now, I go, it's just not what I needed. Like, I think it's good for some people, and I think people get a lot out of it, these other churches and denominations and things, and that's, people's personal story and life, and that's fine. But I think that's interesting that was your take at that young age, that you were looking at it, because that's an interesting age.
Yeah.
And, even at that age, if you were looking at it and going, this is just a social event, like.
Yeah. But the windows, they were just, they just were vibrant and full of life to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what they all meant.
Yeah. So then it sounds like you did have kind of a, let's call it a wild time. I know I know I had that in my life, very just off the rails. I also was missing something. I didn't know what I was missing,
right,
but I was missing something. And my life was just, like I call it, like a paper bag, or not a paper bag, a plastic bag, just kind of blowing around. And I just wasn't, I didn't know what I was missing. So then you kind of, you had a sense of that, and then kind of cut to when your neighbors invited you to go to RCIA, which is now OCIA. Did you feel kind of a pressure by people to have you there? Because it sounds like you were reluctantly there, but you were there. Did they bribe you? No.
No, it wasn't a bribe. It was just more like, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want to go? And okay. But when I went, this is stupid. This is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I do not belong here. There's no ways that I belong here living the life that I had lived to that point.
So was it more that you felt like you weren't worthy to be there?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
I had the hugest chip on my shoulder.
And that's why you had the chip.
Yes.
Oh, got it. That makes sense. But I'm sure Deacon Don, when you had these questions, I'm sure he had an answer for pretty much everything you asked him.
And I didn't like his answers.
You did, because they were too good. No,
Yeah.
I've been with Deacon Don for many, many years. And one of the things that I really value about him is he's such a good listener. You can see it when somebody's talking to him, he's computing what they're saying.
Right.
If he needs clarification, he'll ask for it. And then he typically has an answer. I don't know him very often to not have an answer.
Correct.
And I also haven't really seen him get rattled by an challenge. If somebody's challenging him on something, I've never really, so that's why I was asking, like, if you had this kind of, I'm going to show, or I'm going to, catch him in something.
Yeah.
I would think that he handled it in a very nice, matter-of-fact way.
He did. And I didn't like the way he handled it. If that's the answer, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've had moments where, because the love of the Lord is so forgiving and so beautiful, and I don't know about you, but it kind of sounds like you have a cynical side to you. I have a cynical side. You had a struggle, being raised, and that probably gave you trust issues, and that's what I'm gathering. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Yeah, I have the same thing. And it's, I have found that there's none of that with the Lord. There's none of that with Jesus. He knows all, he sees all, he's so loving. He wants the best for us. Even when we're at our worst, at our lowest, we're making the dumbest mistakes over and over and over, but he is really the only thing in the world that we can count on, that he means what he says. He's always there for us. He, doesn't matter how many people in the world, we're all the most special to him.
Yes.
We're all the most loved to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when somebody hasn't experienced that and doesn't know that deep love, they don't, it's like we had to learn that.
Yes, I did not trust it.
No.
That it was given to me so freely, and there was no way it can be given to me not with what I've done in my life.
Right. And you were probably waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like,
exactly.
Like, okay, so you're going to do this, but then what? What's the... Yeah.
And
I've had that same thing.
Exactly.
It's like, it's too good to be true.
Right.
But he's not.
No, he's not. And to have realized that on my own, it's been life-changing. I imagine God must look at me some days and just, geez, Kim, why couldn't you get out of your own way? Because look at you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a big thing with all of us.
Yes.
We are in our own way. We want to be in control. We want to guide what's going on. I love things in control. I used to be accused of being a control freak, but I'm really not. It's just I like things in control. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time with chaos, and which I'm sure you're laughing because our house is so chaotic.
You should see what I left to come here.
Look at it. It's very chaotic, but I do like things in order. And it's like, to have something that's helping us to feel peace and feel calm, and that is the Lord. It's, it's hard sometimes to believe, for sure. And I do think that I'll speak for myself, that I think, well, Lord, this is like what I'm really wanting to have happen.
Yes.
But I'm really trying to not say those things when I pray to him anymore. It's like, Lord, the many wishes and needs in our heart, but you ultimately, Lord, it's just show us what you want.
Right.
And you have to say it and you have to mean it.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes, But that's kind of the key. And I think we all really struggle with that, but that's definitely the key.
Father Leon gave a great homily one Sunday that sometimes when we talk to the Lord, it's a monologue.
Right.
And it really needs to be a dialogue.
Right.
And to listen to what God is telling you. And I've taken those words to heart. And my favorite way to pray is to journal.
Oh.
I write down all my thoughts. That's why I sent you the novel. And looking back on my journals, I've journaled since 2016, and where I was then to where I am now, I can't believe that, wow, Kim, if you would just be quiet and just listen, then God is speaking to you all the time. If you listen.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is we live in a noisy world. We live in a noisy world in our own head. And we live, again, in chaos. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of distractions. That's why I love to go to the Adoration Chapel.
Yes.
Sometimes I go in there and I just pray. And other times I go in and I'll come home and I'll say to Simon, well, Jesus had a message for me today. And I just sit and listen and he will tell me these messages. And it's because I'm really listening.
Yes.
And it's so quiet in there.
Yeah.
And it's so peaceful. And he's so up close. I mean, I think that's the thing that works for me is I'm so close to the Blessed Sacrament that I can literally see the monstrance breathing.
Yes.
That's what I see. And that's what I experienced. And so that's why I have a date with Jesus every Saturday morning. I'd like to make it more often, but that's my date.
That's what you do. And a lot of people enjoy adoration.
Yeah.
I only go in there when we're doing that for the RCIA gathering. I can't stand the smell of the incense. So
really?
I don't enjoy it.
Oh, okay.
Our RCIA program, it's grown so much, I doubt they'll all sit in there this year.
That's a 20-seater.
Yeah. We had a lot of people confirm last year.
I know.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How many? Do you remember?
Gosh.
It was a lot.
I want to say 56, but I know there were more than that because we needed to break it up into 2 sessions.
Oh, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, the church is no longer big enough to just fit whoever's being confirmed and their families, and then any parishioners that want to attend, there's no room for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So again, back to your story. So when you started coming to RCIA, now OCIA, so again, I feel like you were there reluctantly, but now I can kind of see why, like that you weren't feeling worthy,
Correct.
that you were cynical of it, kind of too good to be true. And then I think it's interesting that you said you didn't want to really follow through with it. You went to go take care of your father. And when you were coming back, you're just kind of like had an attitude of like, why are you people contacting me? Like, I'm done. Like,
yeah. Yeah. But coming back home, I was dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean, my father was married, his wife was an invalid, and my mother was just a train wreck, and I couldn't get those thoughts out of my head, all the negativity, to allow Jesus in. And on my way home, I just was praying, and Lord, I want what you're offering to give to me, but I don't know how to take it. I don't feel I deserve it. And it wasn't until the next year that I took the cathedral trip, and there's an exercise that we do down at St. Francis Xavier, and I was just in tears. I was hyperventilating, bawling, and putting all my sins on a piece of paper and then watching it burn.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, explain that. Now that you mentioned that, I totally remember doing that because I went to the cathedral and we did the same thing, that was a very powerful exercise. So walk through it a little bit more of what that was.
We were given little sheets of paper and a pencil, and they said, write the only three things that are keeping you from fully embracing the Catholic Church and all that Jesus has to offer. And then bring them up, fold them, nobody's going to read them. And it was an exercise, and Deacon Phil was nailing them to the cross. And when we nailed our paper, we went and sat back down, and then the cross was erected, and Deacon Don just set flame to it, and the flash paper went up. And it's like, wow, look at all that I just burned that I don't have to deal with anymore.
Right. It's a very powerful thing, because when they're nailing those on the cross, nailing those pieces of paper, that in its, and then did you get the nail?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the nails look like a small version of what you would imagine Jesus was crucified with. I still have mine. It's in my jewelry box. Anyway, because it's a treasure. Anyway, when he's nailing those to the cross, first of all, that image of the nailing is so, I don't know about you, but it makes me think of Jesus every time, that sound. And excruciating, that sound. And that was happening. That was powerful enough. I don't think any of us expected what was, like, we were just doing what we were told, and we didn't know like the end result of what was about to happen. And when they're nailing it, that in itself was powerful. And then when he lights it, it's like very jarring. And the cross itself nothing happens to the cross. Right. It's just all the papers. It was very powerful, very powerful. And that's kind of how it is when when you go to confession and you are asking for forgiveness for sins too, it's like that they're gone.
Yeah. I walk out feeling like $1 million.
Right.
And I'm happy to do my penance.
Right. Like, I don't dread it. Some people dread going.
I used to, but I don't anymore. And I know a lot of parishioners will go to another church so they don't have to confess to our pastors. But I march right in and, Father Leon, this is what I've done.
Right.
Yeah.
I do it face to face. Yeah. It's like, if you're going to do it, let's do this thing. Let's, I've never gone to another church to do that, but that's people's personal thing. But anyway, I think that's a very, so that obviously was an impactful thing on your journey there.
Yes.
Wow.
But it still wasn't everything. It wasn't until Palm Sunday.
Right. And we're going to take a short break. So put a pin in that. When we come back, we're going to talk about that, because I had a front row seat for that accident. Me and Simon. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's true. Okay. We'll be right back. What is happening at Fresh Catholic? Thanks for asking. Well, we have a weekly podcast with lots of topics and guests, and Fresh Catholic Daily, the daily Mass readings. Listen on all platforms and watch on YouTube. I also do short videos every day on Instagram and Facebook at Fresh Catholic. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. These are such simple ways to help us out. The other ways you can support our mission of drawing people to the faith or back to the faith are by becoming a Patreon or sponsor. Also simple, but so needed. Our website, freshcatholic.com, has an online store with merchandise, a blog, comics, and Fresh Catholic courses with educator Charles Merritt, with the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Virtues, the Ascension, the Magi, the Visitation, the Ten Commandments, Sacraments and Grace, Sin, Advent, Angels, Lent, Typology, and even some Bible study courses. Wow, that's a lot. Please share all of this with everyone you know and join the Fresh Catholic family. And remember, be focused, be faithful, and be fresh. And we're back. So Palm Sunday, 2023. Simon Balderas and I were sitting in the front row.
I did not know that.
That's where I used to love to sit before my husband said, no more, we have to sit in the back row. So anyway, but that particular day, we were sitting in the front row. Now, for some reason, I don't recall it as well as Simon does, because he was watching it unfold. And it was horrifying. It was horrifying, because it was one of those things in slow motion where he said, like, he's the one that he actually jumped up first.
Oh, wow.
And jumped towards you. But he said it was too late. Like, first of all, you were up on the very top step. You fell off 3 steps. Like, you just fell back. You didn't stumble back. He said you fell back and smacked your head on the ground, which is a horrible sound for anybody that's heard that. And he couldn't get to you fast enough because, like, I think just the process of it. But everybody, of course, you know, came and helped you. I have a feeling it was Ryan Curtis that helped you, Caroline Curtis's husband.
I'm not certain.
Okay, I'm not certain either. Yes, I think it was.
So many
Which is
people.
interesting because now Caroline is our youth minister and she's on our staff. But at the time, he came to you. Thank God he was there. He came to you. He was very kind to you, very sweet with you. He was taking really good care of you. Simon felt like this guy's got it. We didn't really know him at the time, but Simon was like, I said, oh my gosh, you know, what should we do? And Simon was like, this guy has it. Like, it's going to be fine. But traumatizing. And thank heaven, like, I remember that happening and just like, you know, as a parish, we're like, what's going to happen? Like, are you all right? They wheeled you out. You know, I remember asking Deacon Don, you know, what's afterward, like, is she okay? What's going on? And he said, you know, she's stabilized. She's at home, you know, like that was the news that we were told. But, you know, I'd like to know, like, when that happened and like you said, you went home, you were, you know, couldn't do anything. You're in a tremendous amount of pain. You find the chosen, or the chosen found you. You were chosen. Sometimes, do you find that God does these things so that allows these things to happen so that it stops you in your tracks?
If God doesn't have a sense of humor, then I think we're all on the wrong path.
Because I feel like I joke sometimes and say he throws down a tack strip. Do you know what a tack strip is?
Yes.
When they need to stop a car immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, I just think we're like running with a rope around our neck.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. And he just puts a stop to it.
Yes.
And he'll do that in certain ways so that it resets what we're doing. And he'll hold us kind of hostage in a loving kind way. He'll hold us hostage so that we reevaluate things. Is that what
That's exactly what happened. I was seeing a therapist at the time because I needed to resolve some of my own trauma. And having done that, and then having turned on this app and seeing the apostles get it so wrong that we're doing okay. we truly are.
Right, right. Well, and I don't know about you, but I have talked thousands of times. I should get sponsored by the Passion of the Christ because I talk about it so much on here, but I will never stop talking about it because the Passion of the Christ was the thing. That's not what drew me to the Catholic faith, but what it's done for me is it's given me such an intense visual that when I'm hearing the gospel, when I'm hearing stories, when I'm imagining things during Mass, it's those images from that movie that help me to make it very real, and it just makes a huge impression on me. I agree with you. When you can see the gospel come to life, if you're a visual person, it's like vital.
I didn't realize I was a visual person until I saw that.
Yeah, because I think when we hear things, when we read them, sometimes when we hear these things over and over and over, like they talk about this a lot in many homilies, it's like, oh, don't check out because you've heard this 1,000 times. You know, I believe that every time we hear a story from the Bible, we hear it in a different way.
Yes.
If we're really listening. It depends on the moment you're in, the part of your life you're in, what stage you're in.
Yes.
You could hear it over and over, but if you're really listening, it's applying to you at that moment.
Yes.
If you're really listening. And then I think things like The Chosen have been a gift to people so that they can watch these things happening And then you go, like you're saying, then you go, oh, like you really are visualizing it then.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself there. You're becoming some of the disciples. You're, seeing how they interacted with each other. It's very impactful.
It is.
Yeah. So it's interesting you were held hostage in a good way.
Yes.
But you wouldn't have probably taken the time to watch that.
No.
Or there wouldn't have been that need. And that, like here you are, you're not being able to be a part of any of the events going on. Like you say, that the most important Holy Week of the year for Catholics.
Right.
It's a huge week. And so you're watching it instead, which God decided was what you needed at that moment.
Apparently so. And I binged watched it, seasons 1 through 3, and then started it all over again because it was so impactful. And the more I saw of it, the more I realized that Jesus is pure love, and he's always with you if you're willing to take the chip off your shoulder and let him in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the things is to surrender to what his will is huge. But also, I think a lot of people think the Catholic faith has too many rules. It's too strict. It's too this, it's too that. But every single thing that Jesus wants us to do is for our own good.
Yes.
We're the ones resisting it. We're the ones that are seeking out other gods,
Yes.
which could be other people, other things, worldly goods, drugs, alcohol, pornography, adultery, all these things that people think they're just going to do whatever they want to do.
Right.
And I know best. And I'm trying to numb this problem, or I'm acting out for some unknown reason to get attention or whatever. And it's like, Jesus just stays focused. It's like, I'm right here when you want to come to me.
Yeah.
He's not going to go, I think it's great what you're doing. No,
Right.
Bravo. Keep going. That's wonderful. No, he doesn't want that. He
No.
loves us so much. And he's right there when we want to turn it around. And sadly, some people don't.
Right. And that's the worst. That's the biggest tragedy, is that you have opportunity and you choose not to.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take something like, that day, I hate to be overly dramatic, but the truth of the matter is you could have totally died from that fall.
No, I hadn't thought of it that way.
You could have just died that day. That, to me, that could have been the end of it, because we never know. I was in a horrible car accident and that altered my entire life and the life of everybody around me.
Mhm.
And that could have been the end of my life that day. It
Right.
was not, obviously. And God had bigger plans for me. God had bigger plans for you.
Yes.
He makes the decision, and that could have been it that day. But see, you were saved, and he has a plan for you. And now look
Yeah, I
at
know.
what you've accomplished. So it does sometimes take that where somebody's brought to their knees or laid on their back or whatever it is. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, it did.
It really
Literally.
does, where people will go, oh my gosh, I really need to rethink this. Or maybe you don't even think that way. You just think, oh, well, now my life is, I got to get my act together here. And yeah, wow. So I do think it's really interesting. And I talked about in your intro that you are a member of the RCIA team. You're also a member of the baptism prep team, which is beautiful. That's a beautiful ministry to
It
be a
is.
part of.
It is.
Like just whatever, if it's a baby, if the family of a baby, or if somebody older is coming in
Yeah.
to the Catholic faith, that's just beautiful, because those people are getting that hole filled up.
Yes.
Babies don't even know they have the hole, but that's the beautiful part about the Catholic faith. We baptize our babies.
Yes.
Because why wait?
Yeah.
Let's get that going already. I think that's a beautiful thing. A lot of other religions wait, I think, till
Right.
the people decide on their own. And then also you are a part of, there's another ministry. What was it?
Kate Mills is getting her caregiver ministry off the ground.
Caregiver ministry. That's
Yes.
beautiful. And this is something that you've always been interested in, caregiving and helping other people. That's like something you've always been drawn to, right?
Yeah. My whole career has been working with adults with intellectual and physical disabilities. And I never made a lateral move. It was always something better. And now I have my own business, and I have a gentleman that lives with me in my home who is disabled, but he's my family.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's all a part of not only being a human, but especially the Catholic faith. We like to do things of service to others.
Right.
It's not all about us. It's about what can we do to help somebody else? What can we do to make their life better?
Yes.
Because that's what Jesus wants from us. And that's what his disciples and his apostles did is, service to others.
Yes.
That's just a huge part of it.
But I had to make my own life better in order to open up my heart to give this service so freely.
Yes. And that is a really, important thing to state is when we're trying to help anybody, it really is the thing of helping yourself, getting yourself stable. I had that. I used to help, everybody else. I had a lot of trauma and drama in my life, and I went to therapy, and the therapist said, "You've never addressed these huge things." She said that most people would have one of these things in their entire life, and you've had multiple, but you've never addressed them.
Exactly.
And as a result, it had to come out in some way, and it came out in a bad way. It was coming out in a bad way. And she said, "Lori, you've got to address these things. You've got to get okay with what you're doing and you being okay and solid with what's going on and address these things."
Yes.
Go down the list. And I thought I was handling them in a great way. And I wasn't. I wasn't handling them at all.
Right.
I was just kind of Wonder Womaning it through is what. So that is a really important thing to say. You can't help others till you've really got yourself on solid ground.
Right.
Because if you're blowing in the wind, you can't help them to be anchored.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really important. What, since you've officially become Catholic and you're really a part of the church and you're feeling better about it now, has anybody ever given you trouble or grief about becoming Catholic?
Nobody that matters.
Just yourself?
Yeah, just myself. Yeah, I could not get out of my own way.
And that was a big hurdle.
Yeah.
So some people have other people as a hurdle. You kind of had yourself.
Right. And it's my whole life. I've just been left to muddle through on my own what I wanted to do. But to muddle that through and to not have any negativity from a parental figure was liberating.
Well,
yeah.
That's beautiful. What's your favorite part about being Catholic?
The community.
Community.
Yeah. OCIA kicks off the 19th tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's my favorite thing to go and meet people and know that I'm going to walk with the majority of these people for the next year.
Right.
That's exciting.
That is exciting.
It is.
Yeah. I just, well, this is coming out a week after, the OCIA starts, but, I highly recommend if anybody out there, if you have friends or family that have ever shown interest in the Catholic faith, it's good to take them to, what's the first meeting called? Isn't there a name for it?
We just call it the OCIA meet and greet.
Oh, meet and greet. But there's like a discernment time or something where
the next week we start discernment.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's, if your church has like an OCIA meet and greet, take your friends and family to that if they've shown any interest. I think, you could end up being their sponsor. That's also something really important. And so that they don't feel like they're just on their own. They feel like, and also I can only speak for our parish, but we do have a really good team. I think everybody's very welcoming. It is very exciting to our whole church when we have people coming into OCIA and we walk with them through their process. And it's very genuine. I think, it's not a put on thing of like, oh, how nice you're here and come. No, we really are excited to see people. And then I think the people who are converts are people who have come into the Catholic faith who aren't cradle Catholics. You know, it's very nostalgic to me every year to watch people going through this. I get very teary when I see them. I know how it feels. You know, you're a little bit scared, you're a little bit apprehensive, but if you can just stay focused on the goal of that you're going to be a part of this, again, this big community, this big, beautiful faith that we're involved in with Jesus at the helm, it's so worth it. And so I highly recommend, if anybody's teetering, you know, you're not, and the other beautiful thing is when you start, if you're not feeling super sure, if you want to go through the program, but you don't want to get fully initiated into the faith, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Some people come back the next year. Yeah. Some people don't come back for a couple of years. It's between you and the Lord as to when you feel good and confident. And, you know, you're a perfect example of that. I think, you know, you didn't jump right in like I did. Yeah.
Right. And we'll meet you where you're at. If you're not ready, it's above our pay grade. So to tell you that you have to do something, that's not our job. Our job is just to walk with you. And if you have questions, to answer them. And if we don't know the answers, we will find out and we will give you the answer. But it is you are under no obligation to buy what we are selling.
Right. And I think that's important because I think sometimes people are very skeptical of things, and they think, okay, well, here we go. They're going to ask us for a bunch of money, and they're going to want this from us, and they're going to want that from us. And again, it's up to you. And, you know, I did my last episode was the second part of my conversion story. And I was saying, you know, I had a call to action, and I said, you know, once you become Catholic, like you get into the Catholic faith, okay, you go through this walk. I think as you're, you know, in the OCIA program, it's good to stay focused on what you're learning in your walk and staying focused. But once you are initiated into the faith, you know, if not before, it's really good to get involved in the ministries, get involved and volunteer for things, build up that kingdom. It's only going to make your experience even more and more deep and beautiful with the Lord. You're going to draw other people in a great way, you know, and there isn't pressure with things. And I think that is a beautiful part of it.
Tithing is never even mentioned in our OCIA.
Yeah. And I think if people can't pay for things, I've never felt pressured. It's like, there's been times where Simon and I have wanted to be a part of something, and they've said, oh, we have a scholarship, or somebody donated money that will help offset it, you know. And I really appreciated that because, you know, I've never felt like, oh, well, sorry, you can't be a part of this
because you don't have enough money.
Yeah. And it's not about that. And it's just, I do think it's a really important thing to if you have friends or family, or you yourself are just even curious, it's a good thing to
definitely
check out. Yeah.
And you don't have to commit.
No. Right. And it's at your time and in the time of the Lord. So, you know, that's really important. Let's see. I think we've already kind of covered this because we just said this, but what would you say to a person if you met them on the street and they showed some interest in that you are Catholic and you would want to encourage, like, what would you say to them about the Catholic faith? And
I would give them directions to OLA and say, we meet here on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30. I would love to bring you with me.
Okay. That you can't be more direct than that.
Yes.
And then, I feel like this has been a super good episode. I want to be sure we have time for our Fresh Catholic game. Okay. So, you know, everybody's had to do this in this series. They've had to. I've made them. I'm holding a little poker in their side. No, I'm not. Anyway, so the little game, it's a kind of a rapid fire game. Okay. I'm going to say a word or a couple of words, and you'll tell me what pops into your head when I say these things. Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Here we go. First word is discipleship.
Discipleship is my path.
Okay. The Blessed Mother.
Good. Just all things good.
The Holy Eucharist.
Renewal. Work.
God the Father.
Abba and safety.
Nice. The Holy Spirit.
He's a little angel on my shoulder.
And Jesus Christ.
My Lord and Savior.
My Lord and Savior. Beautiful, beautiful. And last question, unless you have something that you didn't get to say that we didn't talk about that you'd like to say, is there anything that I forgot to talk to you about?
I don't think so. I was a tough nut to crack for RCIA, and I invite anybody that feels that they have a calling or a tug on their heart from Jesus to take a step forward and make the inquiry, because you will be treated with open arms.
Beautiful. So if Jesus were to appear to you in the flesh, what would you say or do?
In the summer series, we saw I Can Only Imagine, and that has stuck with me. I don't know what I would do except give him a hug and say thank you.
That's kind of what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd cry. I would cry for sure.
Oh,
because I'm a weeper.
I'd be a blubbering mess. Yes.
I have a feeling he's used to that.
Yes. That I finally got you. After all that you've been through, you finally accept me. And that has made all the difference.
And don't wait till you're flat on your back.
No.
Not able to move to find Jesus in your life. But sometimes he does what he has to do to get us.
Sometimes. Exactly.
Well, I so appreciate you coming today. You've been just so wonderful to have here, and I appreciate you. And I think you're an inspiration to people, and never give up, right?
Never
give up. Don't get in your own way.
Exactly.
That's going to be the name of this one. No, we're not naming them like that, but that's what I would name it. Don't get in your own way, says Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Okay. On that note, we're going to head out. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you. Love you. Bye.